Get music.
Yeah, we're recording now and admitting Lena. Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Lena.
How are you?
Really good. How are you, girl?
That's good. Good. Thank you.
Nice.
I think we had a few technical difficulties earlier, so Kennedy kind of got cut away.
It should hang out there. The recording should hang out. If it doesn't, we'll figure it out. I've got my phone. I can manually record it.
Yeah, just sit there with your phone the whole time.
Literally, we will figure it out.
It's all about being malleable, which is so, appropriate for the chat today as well. It's like, how do we withstand change and not be influenced by it? Because I guess change is always changing. And when we exist in the world, it's like anything gets thrown at us. So, which,
True.
happened today.
They're the best days though, because then it's like it's only uphill after that.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like, it's what we were saying today. And Lena, I'm sure you can appreciate this. It seems to be like when you have things that you have to do, it's like you get challenged in that area, in that time. And it's like for people watching the recording, same for you too. It's like you go, oh, I thought I'd kind of made it through this lesson. And then you get triggered or tested by something. It's like, oh, I have so much more to go in this area. and I feel like that is my segue into yoga. And it's like, I'm always working towards mastery with that in terms of like the education and the knowledge side. But I'm never done. The work is never done. And that doesn't mean I can't rest at night or can't sleep. But I'm such an advocate for self-knowledge and always being the student as well as being the teacher. So I don't know whether we're going to wait for the other beautiful souls to come.
No, it's 1 minute past 5. I'll add everybody who comes in, but I reckon let's jump straight into it. We'll just
I'm a huge advocate for not wasting people's time, and it's like the people who turn up on time, I'm a bit militant in that area. So yeah, and that's one of the principles in yoga as well, is like not stealing, and that's not stealing your own time and not stealing other people's time. So yeah, I think that's a cool entry point into what we're doing today. So we're not going to be actually doing any yoga postures or like breathing or any of the techniques at this point, because I think just coming in and sharing at the point where most people are at, there's so much confusion around what yoga is. And I guess there's so many different definitions of what yoga is. And a lot of people, even I was saying earlier in the week, like my dad thinks I'm in the pretzel business. He goes like, how's that pretzel pose going? And how's your legs going behind your head? And it's like, yes, I understand. And I can laugh at that and appreciate it, because I've gone through my own journey with yoga in terms of coming into it from a physical standpoint and then progressing into it being very much a spiritual practice. So that's not often where I meet a lot of people at. So I'm not here, and we're not going to be kumbayaing or chanting or anything together at this point. I just kind of want that entry point into, hey, this is how I entered the scene. This is like a little self-knowledge, self-education session. But what I will preface this with, could somebody please keep a 25-minute timer for me and just do a little hand up when we get to 25 minutes, Josh, and we're just going to break it at that. Just because I find that the interval of learning for my little brain is like 25-minute spurts and 5-minute dance break or water break or whatever that is. So yeah, we'll go with that. So really just coming into this hot, I wanted to also, oh, you're a legend. Thanks, dude. Appreciate you so much. Coming in really like, why is ancient tradition so necessary today? And when I was writing my notes for this and really coming to like, what am I teaching people and why am I telling them this? It's like, we kind of go through life with like ups and downs, and sometimes we follow frameworks, but often we kind of end up at this point where we're like, how the hell did we get here? Like, what is our purpose in life and what the hell are we doing? And so this is where my standpoint of having a teacher is really, really important. So we're all unique beings, right? Like, we all have different purposes here, but the way that we're going to get there and our actual true purpose here has a bit of a different framework. And so we're all going to probably have different teachers in our life that show us the way there. And so that's when I came across my teacher. And I have a few teachers in life, but my actual yoga teacher, he has the blueprint. So I'm not here trying to reinvent the wheel of yoga. That is something that already exists, much like personal development, much like investing, much like all the dog stuff that Sarah does. It's like a lot of the information isn't new, but it's our teachers who condense the information into a simplified format that makes it really digestible for us. So I'm like such a huge advocate for people to find someone like with a style that they resonate in the field of their interest, and then really kind of latching onto their teachings. So for me, that person is Rod Stryker in yoga. I also have Elena Brower, and now more recently, since moving in with Sarah and Josh, that's been Tony Robbins, that has been a mind-blowing moment for me. I was so against it, but then it just kind of shows the practice of yoga just allowing me to be all-inclusive. So with that little preface in mind, I'll jump onto a screen share that I've put together through Canva, which I'm super excited because I'm such a last-minute person, and it all just kind of came to me in the last couple of hours of like, what the hell am I teaching you today? Like, what are we doing? And it's not like me versus you. We're all on this as a team. So if you have questions, chuck them in the chat box. If you have questions watching this on the recording, put them in the public group, the private group. Message me privately if you don't feel like sharing it there either. So is that sharing? Yay. How cute is this little girl? And we're both wearing yellow. I wish she was me. But basically, like, I asked myself this question so much, like, what is yoga? It's such a short word, but it has so much in it. And yoga for me has really become a lifestyle. So in terms of how a lot of people think about yoga, they think yoga, oh yeah, flexible pretzel pose or movement, the hot yoga classes, or, you know, I can do a handstand. And like I said to you, I've been on my own journey through this and met yoga at a very physical place because that's how they teach it in the Western world. But in the ancient traditions, it's like you could do yoga and never do a posture in your life. And now we can do yoga postures and never do yoga in our life. And that's the point that I want to get across. It's like this labeling that we put on things that we're, you know, looking a certain way. And I know I asked myself this question, what the heck is yoga? And I said, I'm so glad you asked, but really it really is such a great question. Like it's probably not, we probably don't have time to cover it all in this one chat today, but I'll do my best to get through as much of that as possible. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to see all of that on the screen with your little, yeah, you can, great. So here I said, you know, yoga is many things, but why? Why am I telling you this? So basically, if you heard the story when we first shared our stories in the Life Summit, I came to yoga when I was at a place of like, I was very lost. and I came into it physically, and I was working hard. I was doing like 3-hour sessions. I'd be waking up at 3 a.m. or if I was working at 6 a.m. I probably wouldn't sleep, and I'd be doing 3+ hour practices, and that became an obsession on a physical side. But what that physical obsession gave to me was the willpower to get me from that mental space that I was in to me now, who is a complete shell of myself back then. And I didn't know that at the time that I was coming into it. So that's been a really, really cool progression of my yogic path. It wasn't like I was going in to go, oh, yay, Shavasana. Oh, yay, we get to sit in Kumbaya. It's like, no, we're actually not doing that. I could barely stay in Shavasana, which is the pose at the end where you rest in silence and you just absorb the practice essentially. But what that brought me to was another one of my teachers, Dean Graziosi, who teaches the self-knowledge industry. And a term for yoga that I like to use, it's called the light of self-knowledge. So until we know ourselves and know what the heck we're trying to achieve in life, we don't really know where we're going, and we can't really form a framework around that. So I've created like a little series of what the self-education and self-knowledge blueprint looks like for me, and how I like to guide people through that. So I know that Sarah, Josh, and Tom know Dean. There might be a few other of you who will want to look him up. He's awesome. He's just got like the best vibes. But essentially as well, it's what I teach in yoga. We've all come from somewhere and we're all going somewhere. And then there's this like messy middle in between, and we're like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's like we come from point A, this line called life, and we get to point B. And a lot of people are on this flat line, right? Like you can see people and you're like, you call it life, but you're kind of like the Walking Dead or living Groundhog Day. So my life is very different. It's very like, wow, like we're up and down. It's being a woman, like hormones are crazy. Sorry, fellas, but it's like, that is the truth. It's like, I feel like some days I can be woo, and then other days it's like, do I have bipolar? Like, what is even happening? And that's why I turn to practices like yoga, because it gives me consistency, it gives me willpower, and it gives me discipline. And if I didn't have that from the years and years ago that I started practicing that, I wouldn't become the person that I am now with like, I guess like the interest, the curiosity, and I probably, wouldn't be teaching it now if I wasn't so passionate about it, right? So regardless of where your beliefs and understandings with yoga are, whether you're spiritual or not, I'm pretty sure that we can all agree we've come from somewhere and we're going somewhere. Can we get a little whoop whoop if we can agree with this? Yeah, buddy. Yes, love it. Cool. So the next little part in this, we're going through life and we're like, yep, freaking loving like this little bus ride that I'm going on right now. And we hit a point where there's like, I don't feel good, or this friendship isn't great, or I hate my job, or I hate my life. And you reach this little obstacle or obstruction. It's like, how the hell did I get here when I was just flying high and going so good? And I call this part like the messy middle. And I think Sarah, my beautiful sister, said this, and it's just stuck with me. It's like the messy middle, it can be beautiful, but it can also be extremely frightening if you don't have the tools to navigate through that. So at this crossroad point, we can call that our mess. We can call that our greatest opportunity for learning. But it's, for most people, it's uncomfortable situations, it's uncomfortable action. And so from here, it's like, what do we do? Do we find a way to get out of it, or do we just keep like sinking lower and lower and lower? And so this next part is like, most of us go under the bridge and we're like, oh, not going so well. I'm trying to figure out some way to get out of this. It's seeming so hard. Some people kind of scoot through life like that, and it's like, we're going all right. And they just kind of accept life for it just being a little bit mediocre, but generally not bad enough to do anything. Other people reach rock bottom, and I've reached my own rock bottom. It doesn't mean your rock bottom has to be some crazy person's trauma stories rock bottom. It's your own rock bottom to be enough to want to change and to move in this positive direction towards mastery, skill, and nailing life, like just owning at wanting to know your own purpose. And so this next bit, where I put the arrows, some people really skyrocket at life. Like you see them and they're the people that I look to. I'm like, gosh, like they inspire me. They're just amazing human beings. They're elegant, they're graceful, they're funny, they're intelligent. They just seem to have this drive. And like I was saying before, we look to the blueprint or the model of somebody else to kind of duplicate their success. Other people can just kind of just get over this hump and end up on their deathbed and they're like, well, I did all right, you know, doing pretty well and lived an okay life. Like that's so many people living at mediocre. And I'm just so not about that. I used to live in this scarcity mindset, particularly when I started in yoga, because I was like, you know, non-attachment, minimalism, I'm so spiritual, I'm so amazing. But I realized that having this mindset around the material side, I didn't actually have enough material security to allow me to have like this sense of self-confidence and abundance within. So that's what I'm super, super passionate about. And that's, I created this little, I love this, like get so excited. I feel like yoga was my tool to creating a bridge over that to get to mastery, right? So like my downward dog could look like you're walking the dog, Ellie, or rollerblading or whatever you do, or like Josh, that could be you running, or Lena, that could be you with the food van, if I'm correct in saying that. I don't know if that's what you do, Lena. I feel like Tom said that at some point, but I'm going to use that. And I think Zimmo was on here, and I know he's an absolute dude. Super excited to have you on my podcast very soon. But back to this point of yoga, that is my bridge literally over my rock bottom. And it's where I continue to come back to achieve mastery at life. It's like, you know, every day I turn up on my mat, and that doesn't always have to be this vigorous practice. Most days lately, it's been waking up, going for my ice bath. I come back to my room and I literally just follow my breath for as long as I want. Feeling my inhale, my ribs expand, my belly button's moving away from my spine, and then on the exhale, my navel pulls in. I could sit there for like half an hour. That's taken time to get there as well. So another point that I did want to make there was a lot of people have busy minds and they think, oh, meditation, I can't do that. I can't still my mind. I can't think about nothing. Oh, yoga, I can't do that. I'm not flexible. We need to start somewhere. So your yoga could be you walking on the beach. It could literally be you taking 3 breaths before you go and order your coffee and go. Just literally feeling into your own sense of self, grounding yourself. And a beautiful practice that Sarah, Josh, and I have been doing together before dinner is doing a gratitude practice. So find your bridge. If you're resonating with the stuff that I'm saying today in terms of yoga, hit me up. I've got classes on YouTube that you can do. I'm all about referring you to other teachers that you might resonate with more. But if you also want to do some things more personally and private with me, I'll be delving into more of how I teach as we progress through the Life Summit, so you can get a bit more of an understanding of who I am and see whether that might be something that you're interested in. Because again, it's finding teachers that we resonate with, and I'm huge on finding a teacher. So where's my next part in that? Do we have any questions at the moment, or is everyone feeling okay with what's coming through? Yeah.
I want to add to, like you said, starting somewhere. I like me and Zimo, for instance, gratitude practice. Every single day since I think May 2018, we have messaged each other just to say what we're grateful for. So having that accountability partner, not only in yoga, but in any part of life, is one of the best ways to stick to it and stay consistent and disciplined. So I just wanted to add that in there. Have an accountability partner for things that you really want to achieve or do or practice.
I love that, Josh. And something that you've also inspired me to do as well is journaling, which is something that I've loved it, but it's a consistency of journaling. And and if you don't have someone that you're comfortable being accountable with, like, write it down. Have your little journal. I've got mine. Every night I write in a life lesson. And this is my little accountability partner. Like, I'm all for it. And sometimes, it doesn't have to be a human form. Can be a dog. You can just like squish it, kiss it, and go like, oh, so grateful for you. Or I feel like dogs have that way of being able to listen, because really we do need to be heard, and we need our story to be told. And that's what I'm super passionate about as well. It's like letting your story be yours and having the elegance to sit within your own story, because so long I've just got that people pleasing disease that's like, I could be anyone. I go anywhere and I can fit in, but to belong is such a different terminology. And to like stop looking to others for comparison of like, oh, they're so lucky for this, or oh, I wish I had their life, and start really putting the mirror back on ourselves and going, why don't I like how I look? Why don't I like how I think? Start developing tools around that. And I'm not saying this willy-nilly like, oh, it's so easy to do it. It has taken years, and I'm still going to be doing this to the day that I die, which excites me because there's still more to uncover. Like, oh, and you may as well start now, because like I said, there's so much, and there's so many exciting things that you can start to discover about all of your conditionings, your beliefs, and then start restructuring them. Because how I view yoga is essentially a tool from getting you from where you are to where you want to be, but it's in a positive way. So we're all getting from somewhere to another place, but whether it's positively influencing ourselves or the people around us is a completely separate topic. What was I going to say there? There's just so much here, and I'm realizing just how excited I'm getting with talking about it. So how are we going to? Yeah.
I was just going to add in there that I think you haven't touched on it yet, which I know you're going to further on, but I really love that there's different forms of yoga, because I think when we think of yoga, we think, like you were saying, meditation, sitting pretzeled on a rock in the middle of nowhere, tuning everything out. And it's like, I don't have time for that. The human brain is going a million miles per hour. But what I've really taken value from is that there's different forms of yoga, different styles. And, there's yoga that can be actually movement, like your hatha yoga and different styles. And then there's also the yin, where it's focusing on like still movements for like 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll probably touch on this a little bit later on, but I love that there are different styles that suit your body type, your way of living, your own lifestyle. And it's not this cookie cutter approach, which I'm very much a big believer on too. So I just wanted to add that in there as well.
Girl, I love you, because I haven't included that in this session today. But this is why I love you so much, is because you reflect the differences in me. And I know that when I started learning it, I'm a fiery beast, and I'm just like, I'm all in, and I'm like, I'm going to do everything and I'm going to do it the sweaty way, and I'm just going to do the 5-hour version if there's a 3-hour. It's like got that competitive streak. But since being around you and seeing the way that you move so elegantly and beautifully, and watching you be so intuitive with yourself, you would always say to me, I love it when you just teach me yin, and it just teaches me to slow down. And so if anyone has done yin yoga before, it's a slower form of yoga where it actually targets the elasticity of the joints versus the muscle and the structuring there. But really great point in terms of, I guess we have to know who we are first to know what we need. And so often people are giving themselves what they want and not what they need. So something that my teacher says, and I absolutely love it, he says, if I could structure yoga classes like this, I would advertise for the hot, sweaty class. And when those people come in, I would give them the yin. And when I would structure a yin class, when those people come in, I would give them the hot, sweaty class, because people are going for what they want and not for what they need. And something that the three of us were talking about today when I came home from work, which I was just like, of course the life lessons will come like 2 minutes before I'm presenting, just totally how I cruise through life, was like, damn it, I hate my Gemini brain for this. It's like, give me a moment. How are we going for time there, Yosh, for the 25-minute? Okay, 3 minutes. Wow, doing well. Now nailing it. Giving us what we need, not what we want. Where was I going with that?
Come back to it.
That's all good. I feel like I lost my train of thought, but if I just keep going, it might come back in. If it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be. Yeah, but with, I guess, going back to what Sarah was saying, it's like really uncovering. You have to do the work first. You have to have the willpower to want to change. You have to kind of reach a point where it's like you want the change bad enough. And when the pain isn't bad enough, we don't change enough. And I've been in that situation for a very long time. I'm just like, oh, I'm kind of okay. Like I said, we kind of remain in this mediocre point. And then it hits the point where you're like, oh, boom, like I have to change something here. And for me, that was hugely environment to get my mind in a different place. But, you know, that can be mind, body, or belief, or breath, body, and belief, which is what I teach. It's kind of the categories that I have on my website, but in a way, like I was saying, we go for what we want versus what we need. So it's like I've labeled it, number one is body, because that's where I meet most people. They think yoga, you're a yoga teacher, teach me how to move. It's like, okay, I'll meet you there. Like, come into my class and now I'll lock the door and teach you all of the lessons. But it's doing it in a subtle way that it doesn't overwhelm them. That's what I was going to say. It's that when we start doing something that is uncovering all of our past beliefs and our conditionings, and this is what happens in yoga. People train for like a year and they go, oh, this is feeling so good in my body. This is amazing, feeling like fit, flexible, strong, whatever. And then the yoga students start to drop off because the light that they're starting to shine on themselves is too much. And this happens in personal development. It's what we were talking about at the kitchen table, like literally probably an hour ago, where people start to back away because they're scared. They either have the fear of success or they have the fear of failure. A lot of people self-sabotage for the fear of success, but then a lot of people remain stuck and comfortable because they're stuck in like that fear of failure zone. So they're like, may as well stay with where I'm comfortable at, keep my same friends, keep my same beliefs, doing all right. And then, then they get to that midlife crisis point and they're not doing the down dog over their bridge. They're It just kind of like, I almost wanted to make that like a saggy bum, like where you're just kind of like sitting down there. It's like you just kind of accept what you have. It's like, we are so powerful. I don't think people realize how powerful we each individually are, and then how powerful we can be when we collectively bring all of our unique purposes together. It's like, it's mind-blowing and so exciting. And so that's what in the other part of the this presentation, I'll be going into the importance of power. And that comes under the framework of Tantra. So, and yeah, that's probably another word that is misconstrued in the yoga world. So with that, we are going to have a 5-minute break. I'm all for it. Go have a glass of water, take some deep breaths, just lie down or sit or be, or just, if you're inside, maybe go outside and just look at the sky or something. I've been finding that that's been working really well for me, and working in 25-minute bursts, having a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and get into it.
Awesome. I'll just pause the recording for the 5-minute break. Let's do it. We're recording.
Cool. So we'll go through another little 25-minute burst, and I'll get my owl Josh to pop on the 25-minute timer, please. And just, yeah, and I think that we'll do another 25-minute session and call it there. We'll just kind of see how I go with getting through the information. But I thought it would be a nice chance to now come in at like what I started the presentation at. What the heck is yoga? What is it? How do we define it? You might have heard it defined as unity, or I think it's traditionally even spoken about as like yoking or bringing together. And so another definition that I really, really love, above all else, it's a means to see. So it's a means to see ourselves more clearly. And when we're able to clear away all of the crap, all of the illusion, all of those obstacles physically, mentally, emotionally, we're then able to step forward more clearly to that point B, or to that solution side, to go, oh, I can see why I've been that way. I can see why I'm unwell in my physical body, in my mental body, or why I'm feeling angry here. And now I can actually start to form a framework towards how I'm going to move through that and above and beyond that. And essentially, yoga is another tool to get you there. So the physical side of yoga is a tool to get your body in that prepped state to be able to calm and still your mind. Because when it's like I was saying before, it's not, oh, I'm turning this up, not down. I like having music on. It's not about stilling the mind completely, because our mind is designed to think. But if we actually start to calm down the distraction, and I don't know if any of you have actually meditated or reached that point in any activity that you've done where you just feel like blissful and like so clear. And for me, that's actually swimming in the ocean. Like I do a sitting meditation practice in my room, and I'll sit there and I have techniques to access different places and to achieve certain results. But my most natural form of meditation, and when everything starts to still and I feel complete joy and bliss, is when I'm flipping like a dolphin in the ocean. It's like that, and when I'm creating music. So that for you might be walking somewhere, walking in the bush. It could be your favorite park, or your favorite song that you crank, or you could be gardening or walking the dogs, and I know that both Sarah, Josh and I love road trips, and that gets us in what Tony Robbins would call state. And so this is kind of the state triangle. How we get there is like the focus, the physiology, and the language. And so in yoga, we've got the movement side. And then through the words that I guide you into that pose and the message that I put out there, we're adding to this place of state. And the focus is on you. We're shining the light back on you to go, hey, your body's showing up in this way. Do you have back pain? Do you have tight hamstrings? And your body's showing you signals or pain or discomfort. Like, be grateful that you can feel that. It's giving you a signal. And once you have a signal, you have something to work on. It's not about like, oh, I've got tight hammies. Okay, I'm going to do upper body. It's like, no, we need to actually come back to that, the focus of like, what are your intentions moving into anything? So yeah, like, I think it's so cool too that so many of the teachers that I'm coming across, and just in the world in general, once you start the personal development and self-knowledge train, you realize that it's all the same teachings. Like I said, it's just so many different ways of presenting that information. So I'm someone who would consider myself in a way a slow learner. I have to go over the information repetitively. And that really is a gift to me, because repetition is the mother of skill and the mother of mastery. And so if I just learnt everything, like if I was like, oh yeah, I got yoga, I'm good, there'd be no need for me to turn up every day on my mat. There'd be no need for me to inquire into what's going on here. I need to form a framework. And I guess that's me understanding what my purpose is here at this unique point in time, and being given this gift of life. So that's taken time too. It's taken time in digging into, like I said before, past conditioning, beliefs, and realizing what's my true essence versus what have I been responding from because it's been how I've been growing up, or it's who I've been hanging around, or it's what I've been eating, or it's what I've been thinking. When I clear all of that distraction away, it's like the real me is just here to shine light. Like, all I want to do is shine light onto myself, so it can shine onto others. And I think that's why I love wearing yellow so much. It's just like a super happy, beautiful color, and it's light. And once you understand your purpose in life, which isn't, it's not, doesn't have to be specific, like I'm going to be a yoga teacher. That can be one of the things that I do, but your purpose, your unique purpose here does not change. And to get to the point where you realize what that purpose is super exciting, because then you realize that your profession does not have to be your purpose, but it also can be. And for me, those two do actually marry, it's really cool. Like at the moment, I'm also working at a cafe. It's like, that's not my purpose. That is so far from my purpose. But also my purpose is to shine light. And when I turn up there, I'm so happy. And so I can bring my purpose into my profession, but I'm also eventually going to leave the cafe and still be shining light in other areas. So it kind of is the one unchanging constant that follows you around. And I think I might even do a presentation on uncovering your purpose, but that might even have to be a mini course, because I feel like that'd have to almost be a weekend workshop, because there's so much in there, and we really have to get you into that immersion. Because when we do dribs and drabs, what are we been talking about? The distractions come in and you get out of state. And so to keep you in state, to keep you uncovering all of these messy middles and really realizing who you are, that would be really fun. So I know Sarah'd be keen, and I'm totally just roping her into that. But if anyone else is really keen on that, just let me know. And I'd love to run us through it's called like the 4 desires. It's like the 4 inherent desires of our soul. But the first one is purpose, which is called our Dharma. So yeah, it'd be pretty cool. And yeah, if Lena and Ellie are interested in that, just let me know, and we can definitely time that. Probably sometime after Hell Weekend, I'd say, or in the middle of it. Oh yes. So I mentioned this at the beginning. Yoga isn't just movement. To you, it might be, depending on where you're at coming into this knowledge. To you, it can be that, and you're not wrong for thinking that. It's just not the only part of yoga. So it's one of the 8 limbs that they'd say. But essentially, it's not a bad thing to come in from a physical standpoint, because once you prep the body, when your body is able to sit still, then you can calm your breath and you can calm your mind. So that's really how I train myself, in that sequential order. But also in the middle of that, now what I teach is we start to train our breath with our body. And then we start to train our mind with our breath and our body, in both movement and then in meditation. So it's a very practical approach to yoga, but it yields results. So my teacher gives an awesome example of a lot of yoga classes, and a lot of yoga teachers teach brown classes. And I'll explain what I mean by this, because, and it's not an ego hit. They're not teaching wrong. It's just, I know that I was doing this for a long time as well, where you go in and you get a combination of all poses. You get like the back bends, the twists, the forward bends, the fun poses. You just get a bit of everything, because they want to include it all. And it's like, oh, it feels so good. This is fun. I love it. And you come out feeling like amazing. But how often do you actually like track your progress when you go to a yoga class? Do you go in and they say, hey, like the intention of this class is to have, just say, more stability, more calming, more grounding? And then do you take note of the poses that they use? Because poses and pose categories actually have an energetic effect. So if they say we're going to have like a calming, grounding practice, but they're doing like chaturangas or push-ups or like back bends or flips and handstands, it's not really congruent with the energetic outcome that you're wanting from what they said. I've got some free downloadables in terms of, if you're interested in how I structure my yoga classes. So it's like the 5 main themes of sequencing a yoga class. And then there's also the 6 categories of yoga poses that you'll ever need to know. So every single yoga pose can be summed up into 6 categories. And each of those categories have a unique effect. So I won't delve into them too deep here. I might upload that into the private group so you can download it. It's just like a PDF and you can have a look through it. But essentially it's like back bends, forward bends, twists, laterals, extensions, and inversions. And we can chat more about that. If you're more curious about that stuff, we can start to guide these talks around that. So I'm just trying to go a little bit off gauging your energy and your interests. But that's something that definitely intrigued me when I started learning with my teacher, Rod. He gave that in such a beautiful breakdown, because then I could start sequencing my own practices to go, hey, today I have got so many things on. I'm going to do a soothing practice. I'm going to put twists and forward bends into my short little sequence today. It's like, oh, I'm feeling really stagnant, or my digestion's not working, or I need to improve my inhale. Okay, well, now I know that information. I'm going to use back bends, laterals together, and we're going to work with improving or increasing our inhale in certain postures. Is everyone following at the moment? Give me a thumbs up. Cool, wicked. Yeah. So yeah, I love that side of it, how simply it can be distilled down into that. And it makes our understanding of why we're turning up somewhere really important. So I know I just remembered I was telling you how Rod was saying a lot of teachers call it a brown class. And I'll give the analogy. So he has 4 kids, 2 sets of twins, and they're both really young. He said, the example I give is I turn up to my son's 2-year-old birthday and we have 6 different classes. And you think of them as the 6 categories of yoga, like I just mentioned, the back bends and all of that. Each class has a color in it. And we'll just go like, blue, yellow, all of the standard colors. Let's just go a rainbow. You go, wow, like that looks super clear. Like, I love that. I love that I can see all of the separate ones, can appreciate them separately. And the kids go, oh, like, I wonder if I could put that one in there and see what that does. And okay, start slow. We might try another color here. And then by the end of it, all of the colors have gone into all of the glasses and you just end up with brown. And that's essentially how he says a lot of amateur teachers teach. And, when we don't know the knowledge, I think I went and took a lot of brown classes without knowing it, and potentially even caused damage to myself because of it in the earlier days. So now I'm really understanding why I'm doing a class, what I need from it, where I've come from, where I'm going. And now I can start to framework a class around that. And that just, I don't know about you, but I love process. And I love that process equals progress. Because if we don't know where we've come from and we don't have any framework, how the hell are we gauging whether we're doing any better from 10 years ago than today? Other than like, you could go, oh, I'm intuitive and all of this stuff. And it's like, I would consider probably all of us have intuition, but what we don't manage, we cannot see our progress in that. So, you don't have to do a spreadsheet. Josh, you might like to do that, but you don't have to do a spreadsheet of your progress, but write down in a journal before you do anything, whether, like I said, it doesn't have to be a yoga pose. Write down how you feel before you go gardening. Write down how you're physically feeling, mentally feeling, emotionally feeling before you're going for a walk or playing with the kids or going for a hike. Go do that thing, enjoy it, be present. After it, notice how you're feeling. Has your mood gone up? Has it gone down? Is your body feeling more open? Is it feeling more tight? And you start to see that everything in your life has come from something that you've done. And this is why I emphasize the body practice or yoga. Everything that your movement does in yoga, it's highlighting your past. So that's why it can be so confronting for some people to even turn up. They go, I'm not flexible. And it's like, to me, that's all up here. Like they think their legs aren't flexible, but the flexibility of even adapting their mind to turn up to a class is like a huge thing. That used to be my thing of like, I just want to get the person who doesn't want to come to class. But now I'm so about people being on their own healing journey. That's like, you need to have the willpower and then we can work together. Because until you have that, you're not going to make progress in whatever you do. You have to want to be your own success. You have to want to be your own investigator, your own excitement. Because if we're not doing that for ourselves, who else is going to want to be a part of that? You might get people along the way, but they're like, I don't know. I feel like the more and more that I get excited about what I do, I just keep drawing in all of these epic people. And it's like, it doesn't mean that it's egotistical to, get excited for yourself or enjoy your progress, because you can actually get excited with other people. And that's why I love living with Sarah and Josh so much, is that we're all so different. We can all excite and get joyful about the same thing, or we can get joyful about each other's progress. And even in that, they show me what I need to learn and how far I still have to go. And that's that thing of like, yes, I love the accountability and the progress, and it's all progress. Progress is happiness, it's fulfillment, and that just touches my soul, like just thinking about that. It's like, yes, I love that. So the 2 goals of yoga, I don't know if I've got 2 goals of yoga there, or yes, 2 goals of yoga. Sorry, these little videos are in the way. Freedom and fulfillment. Really simple. We practice in order to achieve that state that is free of suffering, so you can disconnect from the pain. Like I said, when your body's in pain, let's move it. Let's heal that. And if we can't get rid of the pain, let's move your body in a way that we can get rid of the mental pain. That's that mental chatter talking to yourself, right? Then we've got fulfillment. So we're skillfully navigating through the world and thriving in all areas of life. So like we need these things to get from where we've come from to where we want to go. So like I love just distilling it down to that simplicity of teaching, in terms of, I don't think anyone can really disagree with me to say we all want more freedom, we all want to feel fulfilled, we just want to live the best life that we can. And yoga's the teaching, the wisdom, and the movement that I use as a tool to get me there. So I'd love to like hear if the people in here at the moment, does anyone actually have a yoga practice? Ellie? Yeah?
Yeah, I go to a yoga class like once a week. It's more just like stretching though.
Yeah.
For these tight muscles.
Would it be more of that yin side, do you reckon?
Yeah, it's pretty slow. We're not fast paced. All the movements are really slow. Even if you're doing like things to engage your core and stuff, it's all very slow.
Yeah. And what do you find the teacher like?
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's really good. She talks you through it. But it's not, she doesn't use all the names like how you use the names. It's just the normal body terms, I guess. And then like at the end, we'll do like 5 minutes of laying down breath work kind of thing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. How about you, Lena? No go. Has it been something that you've ever...
I was going to say, I'll jump in. I actually do I meditate every morning. And one thing I would say is I stopped doing the normal, like it's 10 minutes every morning. And I stopped doing that for probably 6 months when I changed it up into more of the Tony Robbins kind of breathing exercise that I was doing along with the visualization stuff. And I've just probably in the last week or two gone back into the 10-minute meditations. And I just, from having that break, I've gone so far backwards in my stillness, I will call it. So that's that's one thing I definitely wanted to add in there for myself. And like I remember listening to podcasts, Tim Ferriss and stuff, and he's a big meditator, and he's just like, you skip a day, you skip it like 2 or 3 days, and you actually start to lose that stillness. So it's like practicing that being the presentness every single day, because it's something that I guess in life you don't practice, but that's coming back to a human being actually practicing that presentness and being. And I just noticed that skipping that for so long, it's taking work to get back into that quietness.
Josh, I'm going to keep you on there as well, because this is a great example of how quickly it is to move out of a habit as it is to create one. So I know that it took you a load of commitment, consistency, and discipline to get you into a state of meditating every day. So did you want to just speak to how you actually came into that path and where you were mentally, and then what practices you were doing? Just like keep it like fairly brief and simplistic as you do.
Yeah, right. I remember reading it or listening to it. Might have been podcast with Tim Ferriss, and that's when I asked you originally about it. And I had that initial practice, and it's so funny to see the growth in both of us, because I remember the practice that you told me to do back then. It's like I can see even you've grown well past that point as well. That was back in 2018, I think. And then
Was.
yeah, and then to get to the point where I started listening to the Waking Up app with Sam Harris, and that was my main one for so long. And he was just having that guided meditation to catch your thinking and bringing you back. And then that moved to me just doing it on my own. And I was at that point, probably 18 months, I would give it, to that point where I could actually just sit there and more than not be thinking. Because like even, it's only, you get those split seconds of absolute stillness, but just not thinking. So like, 5 minutes out of 10, I would be able to not be consistently rolling thoughts through my brain. Or if they do, just noticing them rather than letting them take over, just noticing that they're there. And usually when you notice, they disappear. But yeah, that took a long time for me to get to that point. And then part of that was also the visualization, which is something, I'll probably talk about the financial stuff with the law of attraction, but the visualization, and that became part of my practice, visualizing what I want and that coming to me, which eventualized in a lot of things actually achieving that I wanted to. So it's just amazing what a simple practice can do in my mind.
I love that. And what came up as well for me there when you were talking, which is really cool, just kind of had a light bulb moment, is that we talk so much about be, do, have, and sitting is allowing you to be. It's being the stillness that you're trying to reflect, even if you don't feel still, even if you feel like fidgety as, and you're just like, my mind is insane and this is so uncomfortable. You be the stillness. You direct your mind and your body to go at the same time, and you do it. You can lie down if sitting is uncomfortable. You don't have to sit in lotus. You can lie in bed. You can sit on a chair, your favorite cushion, whatever it is. If you want to do a walking meditation, go for it. Meet yourself where you're at and be what you wish to have.
100%.
Thanks, Josh.
No problem. And that was your 25, so just letting you know.
Yeah.
I took up the last bit.
That's all good. How's everyone going for energy? Are you feeling like, because I think I have a few other slides that I wanted to go through. It was just basically talking about Tantra and what that is. But I think I'm just going to wrap it up actually pretty quickly, because we've actually spoken about a lot, and I'm all for simplicity. What I will do though is I'll upload this PowerPoint for you to go through if you want to have a look a little bit more into what the system of Tantra, Ayurveda, and yoga is, because essentially Tantra is at the top point of what I would call as like a triangle. So yoga fits within a tantric school of knowledge. And why I love talking and educating about Tantra so much is that it speaks to this idea of power, and that we need a certain level of power within ourselves to achieve worldly or spiritual success. So while the word power can get like a bit of judgment, or like people can have their own views on whatever they think when they hear that, but like power without knowledge is only really when it's dangerous, or awareness. But awareness without power is ineffectual. So that I feel like there's just so much in there that if I start talking about Tantra, it's going to open up such a huge can of worms that'll keep me going all night. But that is something that we can definitely talk more about. I'm actually going to use that as a bit of an opportunity for you to do some homework. Look through those last few slides. I've got some simple dot points about what they are, what Tantra means, a little bit about what Ayurveda means. If that word is completely new to you, don't worry too much. And then, it goes over again what yoga is. But this has already been such a huge introduction into maybe a whole new world of what you even thought yoga was. So I'm going to leave it there and open it up to any questions at this point, either questions or feedback. If there's things that, you know, you liked, didn't like, want to know more of. Yeah.
I just want to say that I just love you and I love learning. I think a big takeaway with this is that if we want to, I guess, learn something new, or if we're curious about even thinking about yoga, step one is really wanting to look at ourselves and actually take the time to do the work on ourselves. It's not so much just go to a yoga practice, and that's amazing. If, like you said, meeting yourself where you're at, taking that time, even if it's once a week or a couple of times a week, to do that breath work in the house. But I think moving forward with that, it's like you were saying, Lauren, it's like it's also acknowledging where you're also at and looking at who you are so that you can see where you want to go to. And if you don't have that, if you're not aware of who you are and what your goals are, then that's where I think sometimes you grapple onto lots of different things as well. And you go, oh, that seems cool in the moment. And you start, you know, doing a million different things, which by the sounds of it and from everything that you're sharing, it can actually take you further off course or down a completely different direction to what you were thinking. And I think the two takeaways that I really love was, personally, because I can relate to it, I'm not sure if Ellie can as well, working with dogs, but the two goals of yoga being freedom and fulfillment, I think that really encompasses what I love about animals, and what my mission is around animals is having a free life and creating freedom for animals and creating fulfillment in animals as well. So I think it's so beautiful that with yoga, it doesn't need to just be a practice. It can be a way of living. It's like a lifestyle, which is very much, I think, you know, what I'll be talking about and sharing with dog training too. So it's cool how both of them align so well. And I think that's why we could just talk for hours on this topic, couldn't we?
When we do, I just took a snapshot. Yeah, we do talk a lot about it, and that's what I love of how transferable all personal development information is. It's like, it's not just dogs, it's not just people, it's like everything. It's everything all inclusive. And yeah, it's just super, it gets me pumped talking about this kind of stuff. It's kind of ongoing. But if I was to give some actionable steps moving away from here, we're just going to keep it super, super simple. Unless there's any more questions or comments. Or
I have a comment.
Yes.
So I just had a small little mind breakthrough, and I just want to say
I saw you writing down, and I was like, I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer that we have freedom regardless, right? Regardless of what we're doing. And it's like freedom's similar to happiness. It's just a choice and a mindset. If you feel free, you're free. Regardless of, you know, reading a lot of books of people who went through like the Holocaust or have been in prison for wrong reasons, and they find their practice and in their mind they're free. And I just clicked it into my own mind then. It's just like practicing meditation or yoga is practicing just being, like we were talking before. And that's what ultimate freedom is, just living.
Dude, it is. Oh, I'm going to squish the crap out of you after this. Yes, it's that exciting moment when something drops, and it doesn't have to be the whole slide, but it's like having that moment. It could be years from now. It's like, oh, someone spoke something about that and it just made sense. So all about hearing the right information at the right time by the right person, and you being in that space to receive it. That's freaking awesome, Josh. I love that.
Sweet.
How are you girls going? You're good. Yay. So I'm not sure if you've got like any kind of a journaling practice at the moment. You don't, like, I'm not saying you need to do anything that I'm doing or saying. It's just a suggestion. Maybe even just find a piece of paper now, and while we're all here together, I'm going to grab mine and just write down 3 things that you're really grateful for in this moment. Keep it super simple. Whatever comes up, you just write it down as that is. So if you need to go and grab a piece of paper, go and do that, or you can type it in your phone. But what instantly comes to you now 3 things that you're grateful for. You can visualize it. When you finish, you can just put your pen down or your pencil or whatever. Just be there. Just be. And sometimes starting writing can get you on this train of inspiration of like wanting to write so many things, because I can guarantee you start writing one thing that you're grateful for and all of these other moments of gratitude start to pop in. And that's why gratitude is beautiful. It is endless, because we don't just thank the technology that allows us to get us here. I thank the person who created the computer, the person who created my clothes, the beautiful people that have me in their house, Sarah and Josh. I'm so grateful to have access to food and nutrition, to health. It's just 3 is just the start. I wanted to do a little bit of laughing yoga, but I'm not feeling that is the vibe at the moment. So I feel like I'm just going to laugh at myself. But challenge yourself if this is a challenge for you. It might not be. Just go and tell someone that you love them right now. Even if that isn't your way of normally expressing your love language, call them, message them, write them a letter. Just tell them how much you love them. No explanation. Just say, I love you, man, or I love you, mum, or I love you, dad. Just notice how that makes you feel. So you don't have to do it right now, but I suggest when we jump off the call that, you just type that message and you do it. And again, it's about mind and body go now, and you make that action and you take the step now. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there, legends. I've so enjoyed sharing with you, and yeah, like I said, I'll upload this presentation into the private group, and please get in contact with me to talk about anything that you want to talk about, and we can just have a casual chat or we can message. I'm all up for either way whenever I have time, and I will make time for you. So I've also got some free resources that is on my website. So go and check them out. But you'll be able to access that when you download this. So yeah, happy days. Or namaste.
Good stuff, girl. Awesome. All right, well, we'll kick off again tomorrow at 5 p.m. with Sarah.
Sounds awesome. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, you guys have a lovely night. Thank you for jumping on, and thanks Zimo for jumping on. I actually wrote that I was grateful for you coming on the call, so awesome. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and everybody else watching this, we'll see you when you're watching it. Awesome.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. See you later, guys.